listeners, you are listening to a mini episode of That's Entertainment. I am your pop culture maven, Jeff Malone. We're wrapping up April. Those dang showers are giving way to some beautiful flowers. I can't wait. I love spring colors. Okay, this is one of those Aunt Beth tells Jeff to ... mini episodes in which my co-hosts, Aunt Beth, who usually accompanies me on our full-length episodes, gives me an assignment. Because here's the deal. As much as I love movies and TV and music and all the rest of it, there are some things that I've never consumed in full. Still, in all my 36 plus years. So, I decided to say, hey, Aunt Beth, maybe there's some stuff that you've checked out that you think I really ought to as well. And, I mean, it might already be on my radar, but you telling me to do it for the podcast will give me that little kick over the edge to finally make it happen. So recently, like in the past several months, I've given Aunt Beth the specific request of saying, I would like you to recommend to me what I'm going to call the classics, because they are being defined by the fact that they were released before I was born. So we're talking March 1988. As long as it came out before then, it qualifies. And she came through with the first batch of some selections that were all released in 1982. Was that her favorite year? Well, one of the things she recommended to me was my favorite year, that movie with that title. I've already checked that out and released that episode out into the world. And I also listened to and gave my thoughts on the Alan Parsons Project album Eye in the Sky. And now we finally make our way back to the small screen, the boob tube television, with a sitcom that premiered in 1982 and ended quite soon after in 1983. It lasted only one season. I'm talking about Square Pegs. It premiered specifically on September 27th, 1982 on CBS. It was created by Ann Beats, who also wrote for Saturday Night Live in its early years. And it stars Sarah Jessica Parker, a teenage Sarah Jessica Parker, a pre-Sex and the City Sarah Jessica Parker. So, that's about as much as I knew about it before going in. Before I started watching, if you'd asked me about this, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that's a teen sitcom starring Sarah Jessica Parker, and I might have been able to remember that Ann Beats was behind it as well, but I didn't know much besides that. I knew people liked it. I knew it was well liked despite lasting only a season. So basically what happens on these Aunt Beth Tells Jeff to Watch mini episodes, I check them out. If it's a movie, I watch the whole thing. But if it's a TV show, I usually just watch one or two, maybe 3 episodes. And then answer the question, am I going to keep watching? Or in the case of music, am I going to keep listening? Or if it's a book, am I going to keep reading, etc., etc.? So as this is a TV show, am I going to keep watching? Well, let me get into details. I'll answer that question in full at the end of the episode, but some little details here. So I watched 2 episodes to prepare for this episode. I watched 2 episodes of Square Pegs to prepare for this episode of That's Auntertainment. I watched the pilot episode, and I also watched the 9th episode entitled Muffy's Bat Mitzvah. Now, this show is a little difficult to track down if you're trying to watch it online. It's not really streaming anywhere, at least not as part of a streaming package. It looks like you can buy episodes individually on iTunes, but that could add up. Oh, they're 99 cents an episode, it looks like, and $1.99 on Amazon. It's also available on Fubo TV, but that's not cheap. That's basically a full replacement for cable. So like you're paying like a monthly cable subscription for Fubo TV, except it's coming over the internet instead of through a cable connection. One other option. The full series is available on DVD. Looks like you can find it for just $10. I think, it's still important these days to hold on to physical media. If it's your favorite show of all time, I would recommend buying it on DVD or Blu-ray if it's available that way. Because otherwise, these media companies could just remove them from their streaming services at will. They could even delete them entirely. So if you love Square Pegs, buy it on DVD. But for the purposes of this mini episode, I'm generally in a test out phase. So I don't necessarily like to dive in and buy the whole thing unless I'm really sure I want to. So we might find out at the end of the episode. Am I going to buy all of Square Pegs on DVD? Well, now you might be wondering, how did I actually watch it? Because I've just spent the past couple of minutes talking about how hard it is to find online. Well, there are a few episodes, the full length, on YouTube. They're on this YouTube channel, The Norman Lear Effect, which has that channel has clips and full episodes of shows like All in the Family and One Day at a Time that Norman Lear, was behind. And I'm like, I don't think Norman was behind Square Pegs, but let's see. I'm looking at the Square Pegs Wikipedia page right now. I Control F'd Norman Lear, and let's see. There's something about, most of Square Peg's scenes were filmed at the abandoned Excelsior High School in Norwalk, California, and Norwalk was 20 miles from Norman Lear's studio office. So that's the closest connection I can find between Norman Lear and Square Pegs. But anyway, regardless, if you want to watch some Square Pegs, you can watch a few episodes on YouTube. So the two I watched are available there, as are episode 19, entitled No Substitutions, and episode 17, entitled To Serve Weemawee All My Days. And one more? Wait a minute. One more. Episode 5, Halloween 12. And then there's several other clips. You can... There's a decent amount of Square Pegs on YouTube there. So that's how I watched the two episodes I watched. All right, now to get into what I actually thought about them. Usually on the Aunt Beth tells Jeff to watch episodes. They're a little more off the cuff than other episodes. I wrote some notes down while watching, and let's see. So Sarah Jessica Parker, she's the main character. She plays, oh boy, what was her name? I didn't memorize all the names while I was watching. Her name is Patty Green, and her best friend Lauren Hutchinson is played by Amy Linker. And they're like these two awkward teenagers in high school trying to get with the popular kids. And that's how so many teen movies and TV shows start off, isn't it? And not just start off, but finish. Am I right? Anyway, but I don't know if these girls aren't so bad. They just need a confidence boost. I was quite taken by Lauren, Amy as Lauren. Looks like she's not really acting anymore. But obviously, Sarah Jessica Parker has moved on to even bigger and wider fame. One other cast member who went on to make it pretty big, it was Jamie Gertz. She played the preppy Muffy B. Tepperman, who, kind of like the type A go-getter, a proto Tracy Flick in some ways, to give you an idea of what's going on there. Anyway, so this first episode is all about getting ready for a dance. I'm like, high school dance at the very beginning of in the first episode, they're having a dance. Jeez, wait, maybe like at least 3, more like 5. How can starting off that way? Well, anyway, that's what they did. It's but the dates looked fun, and I'll tell you why. Because they booked a little new wave band by the name of The Waitresses. That's right. The Waitresses, behind the songs I Know What Boys Like and Christmas Wrapping, they actually showed up and played themselves on the very first episode of Square Peg. So that was probably the best part of the episode. And there was a kind of an unfortunate element when I guess like the high school's mascot is a Native American character, and Muffy does an Indian yell, and like, ooh, but the stuff from decades ago tends to have these moments that make you do a double take, and you're like, culture evolves, society evolves. Hopefully. Often, in some ways. But anyway, well, that moment was a little dicey. Overall, there weren't really too many reasons to be concerned like that. Besides the styles and the musics, style meaning fashion, musics meaning songs, besides those specificities, this is it's high school. It's teenagerdom. It's not that different nowadays as it was 40 years ago or even 70 years ago. Yeah. I mean, yes, we have new technology and new ways of new media through which we experience our day-to-day lives. But coming of age is not much different now than it was 200 years ago. Anyway, okay, on to the second episode that I watched, Muffy's Bat Mitzvah. So, Muffy's inviting people to her, her coming of age. She's becoming a woman in the Jewish tradition, and she's inviting a lot of people at school. So Patty and Lauren want to score some invites, don't they? Isn't that just the way? Because they know everyone's going to be there. But Muffy's not quite sure she wants to invite them, at least not right away. But then she does. She makes some rules. She's like, okay, you guys can come, but you can't do this. You can't talk to everyone. Blah 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 blah. It's a typical type storyline in this type of genre. And now for the best part, quite similarly to the first episode, the best part of this episode is the musical guest. Why, it's none other than a certain new wave band named Devo. Oh my God. Mark Mothersbaugh and the other balls as themselves. They come to this high school and play to Muffy's Bat Mitzvah and play some of their kooky music. Can you believe it? Does every episode of this show have an awesome musical guest? Well, I'm looking through the synopses and it doesn't look like it. I was just lucky enough to watch the two that do. So, yeah. Okay. So those are my most important thoughts about Square Pegs. And now the question, will I continue watching? Well, will I plunk down the $10 to buy the DVD? Well, $10 isn't much. I'd be happy to spend it. But the bigger question is, do I have this time and the space? And, I'm trying to be careful with my home media purchases today. I don't have a full home library. I would like to once, that's a very important thing I'm looking for as a future homeowner. I want to have a house with a personal library to put all my books and my digital video discs and Blu-ray discs, get them all nice and organized. But now, I have a few shelves to work with, so I don't want to get all bundled up. And, I've got enough TV to watch without having discs stacking up. So, let's put it this way. If Square Pegs were on ABC Wednesday nights once a week, I would almost certainly keep up with it. As it is now, as a show from decades ago that I'm trying to catch up on, probably won't make it into my regular rotation for the moment. But if there's a day where someone's like, hey, do you want to watch an episode of Square Pegs? Maybe Aunt Beth will be visiting this summer and she throws that question out there. It wouldn't be a terrible way to spend a half hour. Maybe make some sundaes and eat out that bowl while we're watching Patty and Lauren and Muffy and all the rest of them. Wouldn't be a terrible idea. Okay, that's a Square Peg Amore. Yeah, I think I might have a karaoke corner coming up soon, so look out for that. In the meantime, I'll just go ahead and wrap it on up. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at that'sentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon, and you can keep your remotes handy and your eyes open.